Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kathleen, for hosting this and for this opportunity to read poems. November has two themes for me, Thanksgiving, of course, and also it's the month where we remember all souls, those who have gone before us. So the reading, which is 7 poems, will revolve around these two themes. This first poem is called Unknowing, and it's from Falling to Ashes. And everything we know comes through our senses. Only then can we go toward the unknowing, toward things that are not through our senses. So the poem expresses gratitude for all that comes to us through touch and especially touch, which is a very valuable human sense. So this is Unknowing. A red car rolling down the street, a woman for whose memory it calls, the carriage of her husband's freckled hand, this always at her reach. Beneath the chassis, solid are the wheels, their tread inheritor of yield. Beneath release some gravel and some tar, a winding road, the ribbon of conceal. What we may lose is no more than what we abandon. After birth, there's moisture in each palm suggesting rain. There's August every spring. We might forget the hammock in the yard or how to lie reliant, how low the branches, how profuse the air with bright red apples dangling. But when they fall, we shall remember thud, and with its peel the aftermath of leaves. Touch me, my love, for knowing reconvenes as constancy. We have had birth, a life of fingertips. How do we know? How but through trembling? Of course, it would be impossible to understand our senses and anything we know if we didn't have language. So this poem is titled Close to the Tree. It's from The Consequence of Moonlight, and it imagines our first reception of the gift of language. And for me, humanity is almost always symbolized as a young girl. Close to the tree. She knelt and prayed for birth, and so the sparrows brought, as birds often will do, ribs from a perfect nest. But then she specified, anxious to make this true, I need a body and bones, a small and pinkish heart, an ear for voices. She prayed and asked for words, something to maul and chew, so ripe and succulent her throat would grow a need to be the human stem that storms its way to seed. And so the phrases came out of a knotty root. She was no longer shade. She was part need, part girl, mumbling of an eternity slim as a daylight page, slim as an eyelash, too slender to be flare. And then she spoke of lips, of kisses made for veins, bodies that claimed a pulse, to keep her wrist at rest. Restless at last, this place, for girls with godly aches. And then what to do with language. This next poem is titled Evolution. It's a short poem, it's a design. I've been working with designs lately. They're just 10 lines. And it imagines an early family figuring out what to do with language. Evolution. In a land of wild old-timey roses, where birds once lived as dinosaurs weathered a storm, I see a boy with gray eyes, his fingers clutching the last gosling's feather. Time has collapsed. The woman mothering him is ageless. The man with silver hair calls him his son. They're a trio, a pair, a cell, before a mile and a history disperse them. For now they cling together, do what their past could not do. They pray for what they bury. Most of us are grateful for our ancestry, if not for every ancestor. My great-great-grandfather was a 14-year-old stowaway who came from Spain to Acapulco in a galleon and then from there to the Philippines. And so I imagine in the 19th century all those children, those boys and girls who would later become grandfathers and grandmothers, our grandfathers and grandmothers. So this poem is called The Jeans We'd Choose. The lifting mist, a curtain lifts, remnants of a sail. Happy the stowaways that sail. I am addicted to those fans over the doorways, clear symbols out of glass. What name does each entail? Once there were diamonds on a ship, the fleers of catastrophes, young boys in caps and girls with veils. Watch them, leaning on the bowsprit toward east. Some centuries turned children into birds and perched them on a boat's rail. The 19th was like this, when generations hithered, descending in a circular array, cousins, second kin, a heart's trail. Blessed are the hands and ankles wreathed in beads. Blessed too the errant gene, the rib that runs away from ribs, the bones in dark detail. Oh, wise, turn wiser with a child's breath, once more to see when roots fail. Speck in the blue, feet on a deck, it's time to raise the young sail. I forgot to say that that form of that poem is a ghazal. Little did I know growing up in Manila that I would become a Virginian, a very happy Virginian. Thanks to my husband, Bill. We've been married over 35 years. And living in Virginia, he's from Southwest Virginia, so we've crossed the state numerous times over Afton Mountain, which is a beautiful mountain. So this poem is called Lovers on Afton Mountain. The sun omnipotent for whom all children rise is now a slender broth that drips over a cliff. The sky pours out this meal on unfamiliar creatures, but no one dares to drink. And now the road's a spoon tilting its face, until the lovers pause and sit and hug their knees. A panoply of weeds is viewing at their feet, pinned between road and rock, and overhead a star. They've come mostly to watch, but now they fall asleep, where no one speaks or shouts, while caravans of thieves threaten the house's pinion to lower fields. Theirs is no false alarm, their fingers round their ribs, their bonus breath, their pluck, the shore away of shivers. They do not know their meek, hushed into powerless, from star to star, complete. One of my favorite scriptural quotations for this month of November is the one that says, our God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. And since I'd like to close up reading with this poem, also a short design, because of the month of November. Between, how could I pray for souls if they were dead, inhabiting the aftermath of life, alongside orphan sparrows no one fed, in gardens left unswollen in the spring, a knife cuts between wise and weak, and yet how wifelike is all sleep. It wakes to roses. Twilights grow dense with voices, a baby's cry, a young man's whistle, a song a throat demands. For them I pray, who hum, who lilt, who sigh, while God leans forward, chuckling at their chants.